Let's turn to the nuclear security summit that's about to start. Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel has said he's not going to come amidst concerns that some of the Arab and Muslim countries, Egypt and Turkey in particular, were going to raise the worst kept secret in the world, that Israel has nuclear weapons, and the fact that Israel is not a signatory to the non-proliferation treaty. Don't they have a point?
Well, part of the goal of the Nuclear Security Summit is to focus on the threat from nuclear terrorism. And we don't believe the threat from nuclear terrorism comes from states. Our biggest concern is that terrorists will get nuclear material. We fear North Korea and Iran because their behavior, as in the first case to North Korea being already having nuclear weapons, in Iran seeking them, is that they are unpredictable. They have an attitude toward countries like Israel, like their other neighbors in the Gulf, that makes them a danger. So we are focusing on the two states, but we are also very concerned about nuclear material falling into terrorist hands, and that's a concern that we all share. So part of the challenge is to bring the world together, as President Obama is doing in the Nuclear Security Summit, to have everyone sign off on an agreed-upon work plan that will enable us to begin to try to tie up these loose nukes and these loose nuclear materials to make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands. And Israel will be represented by the Deputy Prime Minister, and will be at the table as we begin to try to figure out how to deal with this particular problem.
Is it a good thing because it would have made the summit into a sideshow?
Well, that's a decision for every government to make as to who comes and who doesn't come. So the point is the countries will be represented, and the overall goal of this Nuclear Security Summit is to make progress. I have to say, Jake, you know, this is something that Secretary Gates and I have said repeatedly. You know, the threat of nuclear war, nuclear attack, as we grew up with in the Cold War, has diminished. The threat of nuclear terrorism has increased. And we want to get the world's attention focused where we think it needs to be, with these continuing efforts by Al-Qaeda and others to get just enough nuclear material to cause terrible havoc, destruction, and loss of life somewhere in the world.
President Obama, officials say, is contemplating presenting a peace plan to help jumpstart the process between the Israelis and the Palestinians. What advice do you give President Obama when it comes to whether or not he should offer a peace plan?
Well, I never share advice that I give directly to any president.
Well, then hypothetically.
Well, and I don't answer hypotheticals, but I will say this, that this administration from the very first day has made it clear we are committed to pursuing a path of peace in the Middle East, and to get the two parties to get to a point where they can engage in negotiations again to deal with these very difficult final status issues. Our goal remains the resumption, the relaunch of negotiations, both indirect, eventually leading to direct, and that's our focus.